Hi, I'm Ryan Malyar, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Marlborough Minute. This is a program based right here at WMCT-TV, where we give you a little insight into things that are happening in the Marlborough community. Today I have some really important guests that are making really big change in the Marlborough community. I have Kathy Leonard, I have John Marhefka, did I say that right?
Yep.
Excellent, and Mike Rugg over here, and they are all involved with different aspects of addiction and recovery and services that are offered here in Marlborough to help people on their recovery journey. Am I right?
You are right.
Excellent. Kathy, why don't you start us off? Tell me what organization you represent.
Okay, so I am the chair of the Marlborough Alliance for Prevention. We call it MAP for short because it's a mouthful. And that is an organization that was started in 2015, actually when Mayor Vigent was in office. He started it and he kind of appointed members to it. It was originally run by the Board of Health, but they got a little overwhelmed and busy, so they asked me to take it over because I have a personal interest in the topic. I lost my son from an overdose 10 years ago. And so I'm very vested in not only grief support, but in helping others, in educating people, as well as helping people find pathways to recovery. So that's where we're at now. The Marlborough Alliance for Prevention is kind of an organization that hopes to be a place where we align with a bunch of other community organizations so that we can all work together to find, what we need, to see who needs what. So we have members, we have parents like myself, and we're always willing to get new members if anybody's interested. So, and you don't have to attend every meeting to be involved. So we hope to have parents. We're really trying to get some youth, but that's a little bit difficult because they're very busy and some of our meetings are during the day. We have members from the hospital. We have members from the recovery community. We have people like John and members from the Recovery Connection. We have members from the Addiction Referral Center in Marlborough, and I'm also a member, and we have the Hudson YSAP, which is their substance use coalition, and I'm going to throw it over to Mike in a few minutes to talk about that. So what we hope to be is really an organization where we can promote awareness and education and also help people find help if they need to for recovery.
Now, you said that Mayor Vigent was a part of forming this coalition.
Yes.
Is this a department within the city of Marlborough, or is it considered a separate nonprofit?
It's considered a separate, nonprofit. And so we're trying to expand our horizons. Originally, it was just like a 12-group member, and it was a very closed organization. But now we're trying to expand it. We hope to get more people involved, like I said, parents, youth, faith-based, people, community coming in. We want to really make sure that all of the different areas in the community of Marlborough are involved because, unfortunately, addiction or substance use does affect most people in some way or another. If you are not involved in it with your family, if you haven't been exposed to it, you probably know somebody that has. And so we're really trying to promote awareness and hopefully educate people. I work a lot with the school departments and do a lot, like our organization has been present at health and wellness fairs, and we are involved with the schools. We help place purple flags at the schools for awareness. September is Recovery Month. August tends to be Overdose Awareness Month, and we kind of go right into Recovery Month. So we try to just get all aspects of the community involved and aware, and know that there's no shame in being aware and trying to get help or promoting awareness. We try to get conversations started, which is a good segue, unless you have another question.
Well, I was just curious, your mission then is more education and awareness. Do you provide any services as well, or are you sort of a connector hub that you can direct people to?
More of a connector hub.
Yeah.
We don't provide any direct services at all, but we are more of, that's a good way of putting it, and John kind of came up with helping us form that too, a connector hub where we can have all these organizations together, and we all offer different things.
Right.
And when we all come to the table and we're all aware, because we weren't even aware of some of the organizations that are out there and what services they offer, nor were they aware of us. So that's why we're trying to expand our horizons, get more people involved, because that's really what it's all about.
And it's only when all these different groups can really come together that you can establish a full, well-rounded treatment plan and access to all the tools and resources that might be needed for someone who's in need.
Yes, and you can never start too young. I mean, one of our programs, I'm going to have Mike tell you about about is to help parents have conversations with children about the topic. So
That's a good segue right there.
Segue right
You've got a
to-
great T-shirt over here that says "Talk early, talk often."
Yeah.
So tell me, Mike, about the organization that you're here representing and this great swag that you've got on today.
So my name's Mike, and I'm the coordinator for CMSAPC, which is the Central MetroWest Substance Abuse and Prevention Collaborative. And what we're made up of, including Marlborough, is 7 communities of all of their coalitions. So like how MAP is in Marlborough, Hudson, we have WISAP, and then there's other coalitions in Ashland, Northborough, Southborough, and Westborough.
The list goes on.
Yeah, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of pool our resources and try to work together. We're grant funded through a Mass Call 3 grant by the state of Massachusetts. And basically, this is the campaign that we've been working on over the last year. We've been doing focus groups as well as surveys with parents about what substances they are worried about when it comes to the youth in our communities. And one that came up frequently was cannabis. And all of our studies, all of our focus groups show that kids want to hear from their parents, their caregivers, about like the real information about this stuff. But parents are sometimes a little bit nervous about having these conversations. They don't know how to broach the subject. They don't really know how to have the conversation. So we're running a social media based campaign that directs people to our website, where there will be resources on conversation tips. If your son or daughter says, hey, well, it's just a plant, or you did it when you were younger, what you can say back with evidence-based information that can help give them the right ability to make the right decision. You know, I mean, you don't want the kid's first experience with cannabis to be at the party where the kid's offering them something. Breach the conversation at home, and that's where prevention starts.
I love on the shirt how it has the little bubbles of conversation, and it makes me think of an iMessage too.
Yeah.
That people not only communicate parents face to face with their kids, but there's opportunities to have difficult conversations where kids are at too, whether it's online or on their phones as well. And that's a whole way to maybe have a difficult conversation that you can't always put the words in your mouth right there in person, but you can craft a text message and maybe that reaches your kid in a different way.
Absolutely. And another thing I learned during the process was that a lot of parents, when they need to have difficult conversations with their kids, they want to have it in the car on the way to school because it's a no escape zone. We're talking and there's no going to the living room. We're taking your phone out.
No slamming the door.
Yeah, we're here for this conversation we're going to have.
We're on Route 20. You're not hopping out of the car now.
Right. So, yeah, so we're hoping to give parents a lot of resources that they need to help reach these conversations early in life.
So what kind of resources are these? Are they just sample conversations and different topics?
It's some content that we created on our own, like facts about how cannabis is almost 10 times stronger than it was when a lot of us were kids. So facts about the rising cases of cannabis-induced psychosis, which is a newer phenomenon that's happening because the weed cannabis is a lot more potent than it used to be. And then there's resources from like government agencies like SAMHSA, links to what they can provide parents with, and just like she was saying, where it's a hub of connection. It's just a hub where all parents can go to get hopefully anything they would need for this topic.
Fantastic. Now, John, Kathy had already said that you developed some of this hub mentality yourself. So tell us what your position is, what organization you're here representing, and how this hub all works together for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So my name is John Marhefka. I am the program director right next door at the Recovery Connection. We are a BSAS-funded peer recovery support center that's hosted by Spectrum Health Systems. And we really are the hub for peers. You spoke about being a hub for youth. You spoke about being a hub for the organizations and the resources. So we're really a hub for people that are looking for these resources. We have a full-time recovery coach who's amazing. We have a peer support specialist who's awesome. We have peer coordinators. But ultimately, what we do there is based off of the peer support model, where when somebody comes in and is looking for resources on something, the person that is helping them with those resources are somebody that has had to overcome that boundary in the past. So we're utilizing our lived experience as a catalyst to help meet people where they're at and gain an understanding and a trust that doesn't necessarily happen in a clinical setting.
No, I can imagine you go and meet with your doctor who says you need to be in recovery, but they don't have that lived experience. So here you're matching people up with someone where they won't have any sense of shame to express what they're going through,
Yeah,
because this person knows exactly what you're.
And to go back to the doctor point is, so if you go in and you get a diagnosis of athlete's foot, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what to do with that information. Or if you find out that I might be an addict, you don't know what to do with that information. But at places like the Recovery Connection, you can go in and you can find other people that struggle with the same things you did and find out how they coped with it, how they dealt with it, how they, tools and resources that they've uncovered that you might not necessarily know about or your doctor might not necessarily have.
Right.
So it gets a little bit deeper where we're not just looking for the clinical definition of something. We're looking for the tools on how to cope with these things that we have.
Well, often a clinical definition is very straightforward, and this is the path. You take your Z-Pack of azithromycin to clear up your bacterial infection, and you're done. But the path to recovery is rarely such a straight line.
It is not linear. The clinical world is black and white, and we live in the gray area of trying to figure it out. And the way that I got connected, so I've been the director at the Recovery Connection for going on a year and a half now. And the first thing that I was told that I needed to do was get at the table of Marlborough Alliance for Prevention. And with places like Marlborough, we're a city, right? But it's very close-knit like a town. So unless you become part of the culture, you don't know the resources. And with there's a lot of like respites, and there's the shelter that's right up the road. So there's transient population that come through that don't necessarily know what the resources are. So when individuals come into our center, we can help with the recovery-related resources. But when it comes down to the other vast majority of resources that are out there, my job is to find out where I can connect you to. It's not my job to solve the problem for you. It's to give you the tools so that you can solve it on your own. So if you ever come across this problem in the future, you now have the ability to take control of it yourself. And there's not a lot of communities that have places like this where we can go and we can talk to Marlborough Hospital and find out the resources and gaps in services that they're seeing inside the emergency room. Because what we're realizing is there's this cyclical action that happens where people need acute treatment. They go to either a detox or an emergency room, and because there's such an influx, they're just checking boxes and checking people back out. They end up back at our centers, back in emergency services again, and we're not solving any problems. We're kicking the can down the road. But by utilizing organizations like MAP and CMSAPC and all of these things, we're beginning to come up with solutions. And we're not just putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound anymore, where we're beginning to come together and realizing that there are wraparound resources out there. And I can't agree enough that we have to start younger. Our youth is such this protected entity where we don't want parents or an outsider, somebody like myself who's in recovery with lived experience, to like, don't let that kid near my son because he's going to give him the next bright idea. But they don't realize that like we've been trained to speak to these individuals and meet them where they're at and as a peer level, and not somebody that's sitting there with a clipboard, that we can get down like that. It's okay to not be okay. It's what you're going to do with that. Untreated illness, mental health or substance use as a youth turns you into an adult that has things that we now have to figure out in our 30s and 40s, when we could have been addressing these things at the infancy of this problem, when it didn't turn into heroin and didn't turn into cocaine. It ended up being a peer support group or mass young people in AA or CMSAPC, being able to have a conversation and give the parents the tools that we can have these little conversations with their kids, so that you open the door for them, so that they feel comfortable when their friend does offer them something, and they know the dangers beside it, and they can call their parents and be like, listen, this just happened at this party. Can you come get me?
Yeah.
And we're no longer worried about mom and dad giving me the business when I get in the car,
When you've done the right thing.
because you've done the right thing. But now you've opened this door to have conversations with you, so that they know that they can trust this. And no matter what, instead of them being like, you know what, I'm going to stay at the party because my dad's going to kill me. No, I want them to be like, no, call my dad. He's going to come get all of us right now.
Yeah.
I'm there at 3 a.m.
And I think that's one of the nice common threads about the Talk Early, Talk Often campaign, is that parents, we try to train the parents too, to know that it's okay to have these conversations with their kids. And they may not think their children are being exposed at an early age,
But they are.
but they are. Whether they want to admit it or not, they are.
It's on TV, it's online, it's everywhere.
Just everywhere. It's even in video games that they play, I think. And so, one of the common threads that we have here, I think, amongst all three of us is we want all of these people, whether you're parents, whether you're someone struggling with grief, you're struggling with substance use, we want everybody to know they're not alone. Because in addition to some great resources, John, when you go to the Recovery Connection, I've walked through those doors, you're not just getting a pamphlet, you've got people there. I've seen you help people with rides, to commitments or to the hospital or to court or whatever. So you have a group of people there that will support you in your journey. It's not just they're telling you what your resources are, they're helping you along the way at whatever level you need it to be. And it's the same thing with talking to parents and children and having them talk to each other. I just spoke at the Youth Police Academy last Friday and in July. And one of the common things, and these kids are like 12, 13 years old, and I try to get them to understand, I'm not just telling my story and my son's story, but I want them to understand it's okay to talk to their parents. And I try to get them to have little, if they have a cell phone, just one letter or one word that they can text to a parent to come and get them if something's going on and they're at someone else's house or a
That
party.
secret emergency word.
Secret emergency word, no questions asked. And also to get them to understand that it's okay to have these conversations and that they should have these conversations before something happens. It's like having a tool. It's like learning the signs and symptoms of a heart attack or cancer symptoms. These are signs and symptoms that they need to be aware of at a very young age of what do I do if,
Right.
I
listen to my share of podcasts with doctors and things, and one thing that's sort of universally being approached is in Western medicine is so much concerned with the cure, not the treatment, not what got you there, not your health, not preventative measures.
Right.
So having preventative measures that could prevent you from having a heart attack, that could help you live a long, healthy life. And this is one of these tools that Marlborough has at its disposal of prevention. Prevention before you reach that point where you have to seek treatment. It's that first building block that's so important.
I love talking to the kids in the Youth Police Academy because I ask them questions. I'm like, all right, well, you find yourself at a party, someone offers you something you don't want to do but peer pressure is horrible. What do? I try to give them options, like have a conversation about other ways they could manage things.
And also understanding that it's one thing to say what you're going to do, but when you're actually in that situation, do you have the guts to do it?
Yeah, and I try to tell them, you have the power to do this. It's all within your hands, but talk to people. And I want them to understand this is no longer a hush-hush topic. When I first started doing this type of thing, I think there's still stigma. I think there will always be stigma, but I do think it's less than it used to be because we're talking about it. And that's really important.
Right.
And one thing, like you were saying, like how precursors and what can help you prevent the things from happening. Youth these days are more well-versed and more open to talking about mental health than any previous decade in the history of the world. They've heard their parents talk about it, and there's way less stigma about it. Like when I was younger, I didn't know about anxiety and depression, and kids now know that stuff. So if parents can breach those topics, and those are 100% things that lead into substance use in the early teens, late teens. So if you can breach those conversations with your kids, that can be a game changer, a lifesaver.
Yeah, exactly. I always go back to saying what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it's far as substance use disorder or mental health.
When you get there, it doesn't even matter.
You're absolutely right. But one of the biggest things that I think I've seen change in recovery lately is before we would just treat the symptoms of the disease. We would treat the acute withdrawal symptoms with MAT like Suboxone or methadone and all that stuff. And although I are all about harm reduction and all of that stuff, that just stops the physical dependence on it. If you don't go back to the core of what all of this stuff happened, you're bound to return there. So until you start peeling away these layers, some of them being clinical layers, some of them being peer support layers, and you get back down to the root of the problem that for me, 35 years ago, I got a lot of digging to do before I get back down to that. But if we get to the kids that are starting to go through middle school and hearing about their friends doing stuff and hearing stuff in the bathroom, to get into junior high and all that stuff where the peer support is replaced with peer pressure, and they start, if we don't give them these tools to start talking about this stuff, then they're going to be 35 years behind the 8 ball when it does come time for them to pay the piper and figure out why am I like this, and having these conversations about mental health and all of that stuff. I mean, it's a no-brainer now, but it was literally a non-subject. You didn't talk about what went on in the house. You didn't talk about any mental health things that were going on. You sucked it up and you did it. And that's the thing, is it created a generation that led to this crazy opioid epidemic, is that we realized that we were going back and trying to fix this generational trauma with something. And yeah, it was easy because we didn't know the tools. We didn't know we had to do the work. And that goes to say with the clinical level of things is they can prescribe you something, but if you don't have somebody in peer support that can help walk you through that process, it goes hand in hand. I'm not saying peer support should replace clinical by any means, but we all have to come together and realize that we're trying to reach an ultimate goal of better wellness. All around. Parents, youth, children, peers, clinical, all of it. That's what it comes down to, is wellness, and talking about it is what destroys stigma.
Yeah.
As we look at Marlborough as a whole, or Massachusetts even, are we noticing any trends? Are these support services making a measurable impact that we can see, or are we just fighting a running train?
I've noticed it's different everywhere you go. I'm sure we're all so ingrained in what we do. I know places that they're like, yeah, good idea. And then I know other places like Marlborough and Grafton that are like, no, come here, let's talk about this more. And utilizing abatement dollars to make meaningful changes and differences. But I mean, sometimes it's like throwing a dartboard and a map on who's got it and who's...
We have it in Marlborough. I feel
Yeah.
that
With the mayor, with the Alliance for Prevention, and this small cluster of MetroWest, Framingham's getting it, Hudson, their substance abuse coordinator out there is great. So I feel like our generation combined with our parents that realized what was missing this whole time. Because there is that generation of parents that it is what it is. You know what I mean? And still stuck in that way. But now our generation is coming together, and we're now taking these seats. We're now the program directors. We're now the chairs of different organizations. And now people have to listen to what we're doing, and they're realizing, oh man, they see the change. The change you can't argue with.
Right. I think this would be a great opportunity to say to our viewers, where can we find these resources, and perhaps what kind of people are you looking to get involved, whether to take advantage of these resources or to join your network of support teams and peers that can make an impact in the community?
I think as far as the Marlborough Alliance for Prevention is concerned, anyone who's interested, if this topic touches you either personally or just professionally or whatever. You know, like I said, we want to welcome more people from the faith community, businesses in town, anybody who has an interest in joining, because I feel like any input is good input. We need to know what's working, what's going right in whatever, you know, part of the community you're from, and we need to know where we're lacking and what we can offer.
And the more ears and eyes you have, the more you can grab a better picture of the whole puzzle.
Right.
And do you meet monthly, or what? Do you have a
We meet
meeting?
monthly. We meet monthly. Our next meeting is Friday, September 12th, and we meet at City Hall usually. So if anybody's interested, they can just email me at allianceforprevention.com, and I'm happy to give them any information they want.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How about you? Where do we find all of your resources?
So we are located at 31 Main Street in Marlborough, Mass. It's right behind Funky Murphy's. We're right next to the Arc, who's not here, but they're also an essential hub. They have meetings 3 times a day. They do like narcathons and alpathons on all the major holidays. Like they're a staple of the fellowship community out here as far as meetings and all that stuff go. We also have all of those resources at our center, but also it goes outside of Marlborough. There are 39 other peer recovery support centers across the state of Massachusetts. So if you know somebody that's struggling, and you're not necessarily in the Marlborough area, you can go on mass.gov and type in peer recovery support centers or PRSCs, and it will give you every single one of them. And you could walk in there, and I will say, once you learn the culture of how one works, it doesn't matter if you're in Marlborough or on Nantucket. The culture is the same. There's just a community of individuals that are there to help support those going through their journey of recovery.
But we also know that we're extremely lucky to have you, because we just hear the fantastic work that you're doing right here as well.
He's very excited about it.
I love it.
He's great.
You're passionate.
I love it.
He's very passionate about it.
Absolutely.
Mike?
And
Yeah, and if you want to support our campaign or learn more about CMSAPC itself, you can find us at www.cmsapc.org or on Instagram at CMSAPC_MA for Massachusetts, or on Facebook at facebook.com/CMSAPC.
it's on the screen. Don't worry about it.
All right, cool.
Good. It's a mouthful.
And I know that there's a few special events that we have coming up.
We do. August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day, and we commemorate that each year, not necessarily on that date, but this year in Marlborough, we will be having a candlelight vigil on the evening of Wednesday, August 27th. We have a memorial slideshow every year, which begins around 6:45, and speakers begin around 7:30, the vigil itself. And we will be placing the flags on August 22nd. So we always have that visual reminder every August, and flags will stay up through Labor Day. And we welcome anybody, whether they've been touched by substance use disorder or unfortunately have lost somebody. Everybody's welcome. It's open to the public. It's not a restricted group at all. And we hope to see a lot of people there.
And it's a somber memorial, of course.
It is.
But it is a very present remembrance of people that have been lost, and a reminder that through the efforts in this community that we do care, and that support is available.
Yes.
So it is another platform for you to be out there saying, this doesn't need to continue.
No, it doesn't need to continue. And fortunately, this year, for the first time, we're putting fewer flags, which I'm really excited about. Last year, we had 2,105. This year, we'll have 1,314. So whatever we're all doing, we're doing. We're filming. It's working, and we're doing things. We'll also have, in addition to the candlelight ceremony and the memorial, we will have be giving away free Narcan and have Narcan training. So if anybody wants that, we'll have that available as well.
Fantastic resource.
Yes.
I feel like we just scratched the surface, so we're going to have to do this again, won't we?
Anytime.
That is another thing that you can get down at the Recovery Connection too, is Narcan. Narcan, we're certified Narcan trainers, whether it's 1 or 50. If you are interested in a Narcan training, reach out to any one of us, really, and we could put something together. But we have Narcan readily available down at the center.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here on Marlborough Minute.
How are you?
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
That brings us to the end of another episode. If you're a Marlborough organization or you have a message to share, please be in touch. I'm Ryan at WMCT-TV. Take care.